Hello and welcome to this virtual session. We're glad you can join us today. Before we get started, there's a few housekeeping items we'd like to go over with you now. Firstly, you can resize the webinar windows to cater to your viewing preferences. You can maximise, minimise and drag the windows to your preferred viewing size. If you look at the bottom middle of your screen, you can click on the widgets that you'll need to get the most out of this virtual experience. Secondly, Microsoft specialists are on hand to answer your questions in real time. So feel free to type in your questions using the Q&A window and we'll answer them as soon as we can. Lastly, we've provided some additional resources for you to supplement your learning. You can access them by clicking on the links in this section. Without further ado, I'll hand over to our speakers.
Hello and welcome to Day 2 of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Fundamentals. My name is Chelsea Lee and I will be your technical trainer today. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to explore some of how Dynamics 365 can help you out in your organization, specifically around our model-driven apps. We also looked at how you can connect and analyze the data from your Dynamics platform. In today's session, we'll be looking at our finance and operation apps, which will include finance, supply chain management, commerce, and human resources. We'll close out the day looking at how you can integrate Dynamics with many different programs and software that you are already using in your organization, and most importantly, how you can make sure that your data is secure. We're really excited to have you, so let's go ahead and jump into our first module. Our first module of the day is going to be taking a look at our finance and operation apps. Remember, these are different than our model-driven apps. We're going to look specifically at our finance apps and our supply chain management. Now, with the modules today in finance and operation, we will not be going into the portal just because it is such a very organization-specific setup. But for the exam, what you need to know is how these products work and some of the basic knowledge that comes with finance as well as supply chain management. And we'll start with just an introduction into what Dynamics 365 Finance is. Now, any CFO or Chief Financial Officer, they have a number of different responsibilities when it comes to running an organization. You know, they're responsible for global regulations, they have to drive growth, they have to be strategic with their innovation. And those CFOs need technology that's going to help deliver right now, next quarter, and next year. And so what Dynamics 365 for Finance does, it provides CFOs and their teams with the tools that they need to not only see the current data instantly, but allows them to forecast and support future decisions. When we look at what really the main role of any type of financial management system is that it's there to first maximize profits. Any business wants to make sure that they're earning profits both in the short term and in the long term. And we'll be looking at two different features in Dynamics 365 Finance that help support that. And those include the general ledger and the cash and bank management. And these are both modules that help the CFO and his team manage all of the finances and the ledgers that go along with that organization. The next thing that leaders who are responsible for the finance of the organization are looking for ways to maximize wealth. Your organization wants to make sure that they have good cash flow because you have to pay the daily expenses. You know, think of wages, rent, electricity bills. So this cash flow allows them to take advantage of opportunities, whether it's getting discounts on purchases, making large-scale purchases, or even providing credit to their customers so that way they can shop there. And the final thing is operational consistency and efficiency. You know, there are deadlines when we talk about finance, month-end closings, reporting. All of this is incredibly important when it comes to the health of your organization. And it's critical because not only do you have to report it to management, but you also have to report it to shareholders. So Dynamics 365 Finance actually has a shared chart of accounts across multiple legal entities that give you a global view of the organization that you're managing. Now, while Dynamics 365 delivers on all of these, it's important to understand the benefits of what Dynamics 365 Finance can do. So, as a CFO or anybody in a leadership role, you want to be able to drive that strategic financial decisions. You want to be able to see, how's your business doing? Where can you improve? Where can you optimize? And Dynamics 365 can help you achieve this by providing real-time financial reporting. And all of this is going to be supported by these AI-driven analytics and predictive insights. Next, it can actually help you unify and automate your financial process. And this is really great because you're able to work smarter and faster. We'll take a look at some of the role-based workspaces that actually can help you get these interactive visualizations. And these visualizations are providing a high-level overview of your key business metrics. And when we talk about integrations at the end of today, it's really great because you can actually link Dynamics 365 Finance with other applications that you're already using, such as Office 365. That's only going to increase your productivity. We then also have a benefit of decreasing global financial complexity and risk, because the global and local financial requirements change all the time. And so there's tracking built in to help manage your financial operations, even when the regulatory requirements change. And the nice thing is that this is a no-code configuration, so it really simplifies when you need to make changes, whether it's to regulatory, tax reports, invoicing, and payments. But the biggest benefit of all, in my opinion, is the fact that you're able to accelerate your business growth. Because Dynamics, as we've seen yesterday, it provides this robust financial intelligence that has all sorts of different analytics built into it that allows you to make fast and informed decisions. Dynamics 365 Finance gives you the tools and service that are needed to transform your business functions and its process. And it's great because it helps you meet your business requirements and supports the efforts to modernize your finance functions. So this graph that I have on the screen right now, this actually outlines the key business functions of the Microsoft system supporting that modern finance. And all of this is going to be used in Dynamics 365 Finance. And we'll go into each of these in more detail today as we look at supply chain management and human resources. I highly recommend that you go to the learning path where you can deep dive into this graphic. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those core capabilities when we look at Dynamics 365 Finance. Now, on the exam, there are several questions regarding the finance and operation apps. The key thing that you need to know when you're getting ready to take the exam is that you do not need to know how to set up Dynamics 365 for Finance or any of the finance operation apps, but really where and how you would use it. If you're on this call today and you're familiar with the finance and accounting process, this may seem like a little bit of review to you. A lot of the questions are asking about the business application. If you are unfamiliar with what a general ledger is or how it's used, or accounts payable, receivable, those types of finance terminology and concepts, you will need to spend a little bit of extra time studying because most of the questions on the exam are regarding the business application of each of these. But going back to the core products of Dynamics 365 and the capabilities with it, essentially what it does, it helps you drive margin, revenue growth, all by using a centralized global financial management solution. Like I said, we have those three main goals: maximizing profit, maximizing wealth, and operational consistency and efficiency. And Dynamics 365 offers all of this. Let's take a look at one of the features, which is going to be the general ledger process. Now, the general ledger module is one of the core, is really the core of Dynamics 365 Finance. it is integrated with all the other subledgers within this module. So you can use the general ledger to help define and manage different legal entities' financial records. And really, the general ledger is a register of debit and credit entries. And you're classifying these entries using the accounts listed in the chart of accounts. You can adjust to changing financial requirements with flexible, rule-based charts of accounts and the global tax engine. And what it does, it allows you to track values and reduce reporting errors because you have everything in a centralized automated process for managing all of your capitalized assets, whether it's through acquisition or disposal. Now, on the screen, I actually have an example of how the general ledger works within Dynamics 365 for finance. Now, if you've never even looked at a general ledger, or this is the first time that you've even heard that phrase before, please make sure that you're going into the learning path. There is a great video that actually reviews the chart of accounts, fiscal calendars, and all of those financial dimensions, and really how they are the foundation of the general ledger. But it's important that you know that the general ledger defines and manages your financial records. So think of the general ledger as that foundation. Then we have the chart of accounts that display the register of debit and credit entries. What it does is it processes closing transactions, it revalues the currency amounts, and it closes the fiscal periods. So this is the foundation for basically all the other modules within Dynamics 365 Finance. We then have the accounts payable module. Now, what this does is this allows you to distribute expenses, whether it's taxes or, you're charging across different accounts. In this module, you're managing your vendors, purchase orders, discounts, transactions, all of your invoices, and basically you're reducing company liability and generating income. And we won't get into it in this course, but in some of the more advanced courses, you can actually see how you can automate the review and payment of vendor invoices. Now, on the screen, what I have is just an example of the typical business process within an organization when it comes to account payable. But what I want to make sure that you understand is that with accounts payable, the general ledger is a record of all of the invoices and payments and transactions. And so within accounts payable, you're matching the orders to the invoices to see if you should pay that vendor invoice. And when that invoice is due, your accounts payable clerk is generating that payment, which Dynamics 365 record to the general ledger, and that's going to impact your cash and bank statements. Now, like general ledger, this is something that you do need to have a basic concept of what accounts payable process is. But I want you to know, you might see a question on the exam of what do you use accounts payables for within Dynamics 365 for finance? And very simply, accounts payable is used to set up and manage your vendors and your vendors group. So essentially, it allows you to pay them and make sure that your past orders, your products, receipts, invoices all match. And that way you can create a check and then ultimately move through your payment and approval process. So if accounts payables is to make sure that you're paying your invoices and your bills to your vendors, accounts receivables is there to help track your customers' invoices and making sure that they are paid on time and you're getting the correct payments. And within the accounts receivable module in Dynamics 365 Finance, you're able to create and manage customer invoices, their incoming payments, while still working on all of the daily tasks that your accounts receivable team would be doing. So there's ways for you to create invoices using free tax, set up recurring invoices, or you can even batch invoices. Now, you can receive many different payment types, such as bills of exchange, cash, check, credit cards, electronic payments. And the Dynamics 365 centralized payments module allows your organizations that may have multiple legal entities create and manage payments no matter the payment type, using that single entity to manage all of your payments. Now, like again, with General Ledger, with accounts payable, accounts receivable also does have a really great overview in the learning path if you're not familiar with that process at all. But you need to know for the exam that in Dynamics 365 Finance, specifically when it comes to accounts receivable, you're able to create and manage your customers' sales order, their credit limits, and any other functions when it comes to customers paying their bills. And you're able to manage all of the invoicing through there. Next, one of the other key capabilities in Dynamics 365 Finance is going to be project management and accounting. Now, a project is a little bit different from some of our other services. This is basically a group of activities that provide a service or produce a product or really achieving a result. So a project consumes resources and generates a financial result. And this could be in the form of revenue or assets. And Dynamics 365 project management and that accounting modules allows you to plan, create, and control all of those completed projects. Now, what I here have on the screen is how you can use the project management accounting in a number of different industries. So for example, you could have a consulting company, whether a management or a technical consulting company, that basically have activities in those projects. And whatever happens to that project, it could be use resources, schedule, costs. The project management and accounting functionality helps with the planning, execution, and analysis of these projects. And what it does, it actually oversees all of the finances that go along with that. And the type of project that you're working on actually determines what type of invoicing you're going to apply. And if you see here, I have the two types of invoices. So the first one is going to be a time and materials project. And this is where basically you're basing the customer invoice on the transaction lines that you enter. So whether it was your time billed or if you purchase something, you're able to create an invoice for that. Or we have a fixed price project. And this is where you're essentially quoting this is going to be a single price no matter what other products or services that we might need to add to finish this project. Now, when it comes to those two invoicing types, it doesn't matter what type of project you decide. This module will actually interact with both and help you generate a purchase order, which then will go back to accounts payable for payment. Now, the nice thing with project accounting is you're going to get a whole overview of all the project attributes. So this is where you can create quotes, contracts, funding sources. You can maybe set those financial perimeters. But it allows you to not only enter in hourly time blocks, but it also allows you to create project invoice proposals, and it basically is there to walk you through every part of the project phase. One of the next key features of any financial management tool within an organization is going to be budgeting. Now, with a proper budgeting process, organizations can benefit from forecasting and financial insights to help compare actuals against their allocated budget. Now, the Dynamics 365 Finance Budgeting module, what it does, it allows you to estimate the total financial requirements by determining the operating requirements, the fixed capital, and the working capital requirements of your organization. Now, there is a full resource planning cycle, and that includes planning, budgeting, and forecasting. Dynamics 365 Finance supports the process both for long-term, your strategic planning, and your quarterly and annual budget planning. Now, here's the really cool thing. You can actually use the budgeting module to create and assign budget codes that allocate funds and allow you to plan for the future. And you can even reduce operational expense by minimizing the operational costs across business geographies with different financial process automation. You can look at budget planning and budget control. So this is a way for you to reduce the expense that usually comes along with the budgeting process. Now, we won't get into it in this class, but once you set up and approve the budget in Dynamics 365 Finance, you can actually convert the budget plan to a budget register entry. And what that does is that register entry gives you the tools to manage the budget and keep all amounts traceable through budget codes. And the budget registry entries let you revise original budgets. It lets you do transfers and carry forward budget amounts from the previous year. So everything you have is based on the established budget, and you get budget control. Now, that level of control really depends on your organizational culture and the organization's level of maturity. But there is a whole bunch of different controls and resources within Dynamics 365 Budget, and that includes chart of accounts, workflows, user groups, source documents and journals, configurable calculations of available funds, budget cycles, and thresholds. When you have these controls in place, you're able to plan, you're able to measure, manage, and forecast all of your financial resources throughout the fiscal year. You get to use the budgeting model for what works best for your organization. You get to create and assign those budget codes, allocate the funds, and this gives you the ability to plan for the future. You define who does what you budget, and the process all the way through. Dynamics 365 Finance offers a number of different tools and features and a workspace that gives you these built-in controls that allow you to have real-time insight into your cash flow, your product supply, and your demand. It can even analyze customer demographics and the cost of the goods so you can negotiate agreements with your vendors and customers that leave your company with a competitive advantage. One of the tools as part of Dynamics 365 for Finance is the cash flow forecasting tools. And what it does, it actually is a tool that helps you analyze upcoming cash flow and the currency requirements to estimate your future need for cash, but it's all going back to the budget and inventory management. And what this does, it gives you a better oversight and preparation for the future. To get the forecast of your cash flow, you would first need to find all of your liquidity accounts. And these are your accounts that are used for cash or cash equivalents. Then what you would do is you would actually configure behavior for forecasts of the transactions that affect those accounts. And once you've done that, you're able to calculate and analyze forecasts of the cash flow and upcoming currency requirements. Now, you can actually take this cash flow forecasting and integrate it with the general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and your budgeting and inventory management. So you see how there's so many different things within Dynamics 365 for Finance that all work together. I mean, just when Dynamics 365 Finance is looking at transactions, when it's configuring your cash flow, it's looking at your sales orders, your purchase ordables, your AR, your AP, all of your ledger transactions, your budget register entries, your demand forecasts, and your supply forecasts. Now, even though there's no direct integration with project management and accounting, there are several different ways for you to include those transactions in your cash flow forecast. So the system can actually do project invoices in the forecast as part of open customer transactions. And the way it does this is it actually looks at the project initiated sales orders and the purchase orders in the forecast as open orders after they're entered. And so where the benefit comes from is when you start using real-time cash flow with these visibility features with budgeting, inventory management, you're getting better visibility into the future. You're able to use that data to work for you. You know, you have the ability to set up those flow forecasts, or you can show vendor purchase orders. With these tools, it's giving you a full circle view of your current needs, but also your future needs. Dynamics 365 Finance is a very powerful tool for organizations that want control and insight. We've had a chance to look at a lot of the different modules in Dynamics 365 for Finance. And there is one last capability I want to discuss before we close out this module. And that's going to be credits and collections, because that's a really common challenge when it comes to when our customers going to pay. CFOs can have a problem predicting when they're going to pay. And when you have slow or inconsistent payments, that's going to restrict your cash flow. And that can inhibit you for long-term planning or even daily performance. The credit and collection functionality in Dynamics 365 is actually going to help predict when customers are going to pay invoices based on historical analysis. And these predictions will help you get your receivables collected on time and reduce the cost of effort of manual collections management. So through this, you're able to track the full credit and collections process, which includes generating customer and account statements, 360-degree visibility of customer aging data. You're able to automate customer communication, and you can finalize your write-offs through this. And what it does, it allows you to better allocate the funds, and you can actually spot those credit risks before a large order ships. And that way your team is equipped with effective strategies that will allow you to get paid not only in full, but most importantly on time. And you'll collect that revenue faster because you'll be able to process your money faster. And you're able to manage all of this in one view using Dynamics 365 Finance. And in the central view, you can manage your collections, and your collection agents can begin the process from the customer lists that you generate using the same reporting structure that we've discussed throughout this entire course. Now, visibility to customers that don't pay invoices on time is really important when it comes to managing your cash flow and receivables. So the credit and collections module addresses the credit and collection write-off process. And Dynamics 365 Finance ties these transactions back to the proper financial transactions for you in one central view. And that's one of the key things when we look at wrapping up this module, is that Dynamics 365 Finance allows you to keep that competitive advantage and that flexibility that your organizations requires as part of their financial management solution. And so this is another business application that allows your medium up to your enterprise organizations to monitor performance, predict future incomes, and with everything with Dynamics 365 is going to allow you to make data-driven decisions. And the next part that I want to discuss is actually going to be using supply chain management, which ties in very closely with finance. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'm going to bring you back to a concept that we actually discussed yesterday in Module 1, and that's the age of digital transformation. And that's really what set the stage for supply chain management. We're in the fourth industrial revolution because we're where physical and digital technologies are coming together, and it's already happening. Organizations are transforming manufacturing and supply chain management. Now, there's tech-savvy companies who are adopting and using these technologies. We see the use of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the Internet of Things. And what happens is organizations are able to build intelligent, customer-focused manufacturing operations and their supply chains. And what's really cool about this is that you're able to raise your productivity to new heights by optimizing processes and responding to customer demands in a more proactive way. And Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management actually transforms your manufacturing and supply chain operations. You're able to take advantage of predictive insights and all of this intelligence across your entire supply chain and manufacturing operations. And what it does is it maximizes efficiency, product quality, and your profitability. So as we look at these tools today, the big thing that I want you to know is that centralized data with infused artificial intelligence is going to help you find new efficiencies, innovations, and growth. And this allows you to improve your supply chain operations dramatically. And your customers are getting the products and services they want and when they want them.
when you look at your operational activities in your supply chain management as well as your manufacturing, you have to make sure that your day-to-day decisions are aligning with your long-term goals, because ultimately you want to grow and you want to increase profits. And in order to make those decisions, you need to have a central source of intelligence. And you need to have an understanding of how your global workflows force and supply chain, and you need to be able to collaborate anytime, anywhere, even on any device. You need insight into your operations to drive change. You want to be proactive rather than reactive. And the way that Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management helps you with that is it actually gives you real-time visibility and intelligence that allows you to move from reactive to proactive in your operations. You know, we're able to use AI and IoT, those predictive insights that help you maximize your operational efficiency, your product quality, and it allows you to increase your profitability. And this isn't just in one area of your business. This includes order fulfillment, planning, procurement, your production, inventory, warehousing, and transportation. Now, there are some huge benefits when it comes to using Dynamics 365 supply chain management. And the first one is that you are going to see increased operational efficiencies. And this is because you're able to speed up the accuracy of your operations because you have streamlined processes. And the way it does this is that you're coordinating your people, your assets, and your resources effectively. And this in turn is going to reduce costs and improve service levels. Now, you can simplify all of your resource management across any workload using an intelligent solution that's going to help track and manage your resources. Next, we see improved strategic planning. And all of this is coming from that digital feedback loop. Because you have a unified view of inventory, your warehouse, your manufacturing, all the services and logistics, you're able to see a view with predictive analytics that allow you to turn data into insights that's helping support your decisions. Remember that little graph that we looked at yesterday, that digital feedback loop? That's what we're seeing here on this chart on the screen. And because you're making better strategic decisions, you're able to optimize your productivity within your workforce. You get a single source. You don't have to worry about information coming from all different directions. You have a single source of business intelligence that allows you to drive productivity from your assets and resources. It's helping align your employees towards strategic goals. On top of that, there is a real-time response to organizational and customer demands because, things do change, but we're focused on being proactive mainly. And then one of the other big benefits is going to be that it helps you automate all of your supply chain processes because you're getting a complete view across your geographies, different time zones, because you have the ability to integrate with sales and purchasing with your supply chain management. You're able to use AI, machine learning, IoT to deliver intelligent insights on every transaction, whether it's from ordering to fulfillment or even to final delivery. Now, like most of our other topics that we've discussed so far, you're not going to necessarily need to know how to implement, but you do need to have a good understanding of what these items are. So let's go ahead and take a look at product information management within Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. And what this is this is used for the creation and maintenance of your entire product library. Essentially, this is a repository that has definitions of all the products that your organization may buy, store, distribute, manufacturing, or sell. Now, there's two different product types within Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. So first, we have an item, and you buy items for consumption, distribution, resale. Basically, you can include items in the production of manufactured items or services. So that's the second product type. A service is, for example, going to be a way for you to quantify your hourly services. Now, within each of these products, we have 3 product subtypes or variants. So there are 3 product subtypes, and that includes product, product master, and product variant. So let's talk about what a product is. So an example of a product includes, we have a Slinky here, a carton of orange juice, or we have a motor. These are all defined products. This is something that we have, this is the outcome, where then we have an example of a product master, and this is a piece of clothing, and this can be a t-shirt, because it's made in multiple sizes, multiple colors, and the various t-shirts are product variants. So, let's go back to our original product. So maybe we have orange juice as a product, but then we have the carton with the base ingredients. Well, product variant could be low pulp, high pulp, no sugar, low sugar, sugar-free, all of those different things. So essentially, a product designer, someone with the organization, is going to create the product dimensions or the values needed for all the variants. So the product dimensions can include color, sizes, styles, and once you define those values, the product designer is actually going to create the variants, which combine all the dimensions into your specific options, whether it's small red, small medium, large red, blue small, so on and so forth. Now, you would want to use these categories for a number of reasons. The first one might be for classifying products or your vendors, your customers. Basically, all of these are used for reporting or analysis purposes. Each category has a hierarchy structure of subcategories, and you can create more than one. So looking on the screen, for example, let me get that pulled up. So you can create more than one category for classifying purchase product and another hierarchy for classifying vendors. So supply chain management in Dynamics 365 can help you create and apply templates that's going to help speed up the product creation and release new products to production to help fulfill demand. This is really great because this helps your product engineers and manufacturers approve the new products quickly. It can help accelerate product introductions. And basically, through this release product maintenance workspace, it just makes it easier to accelerate all of your product introductions. So the product information management module is there to ensure that all of your products share definitions, documentation, the attributes, and all the identifiers that go along with it. And it allows you to configure and manage your data all from a single location. And what this does is this ensures that product information is consistent and correct. So now that we've had a chance to look at the product designer and what the product is, let's actually look at master planning within Dynamics 365. Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management Master Planning allows you to synchronize your production, your storage, and transport with your demand. And what's really good about the coordination of all of these elements is it helps you maximize your efficiency, it reduces costs, and ultimately it's supporting your profitability. Now, when you're looking at master planning, there's 3 questions that you need to be asking yourself. 1, what is required to complete the production? 2, what is currently available? And 3, what is needed? More specifically, what must be manufactured, or what must be bought, what must be transferred, or what do you need to set aside as safety stock? Master planning allows you to do production planning, like everything else in Dynamics, in real time. And this helps you reduce your lead time for new demands and supply. And it's going to help you accelerate product delivery by automating the flows of information and materials through your resources and locations. There is this thing called predictive analytics within master planning for Dynamics 365 supply chain management that helps you optimize planning and improve the fulfillment through material sourcing, logistics, all throughout the entire supply chain. Basically, the purpose of master planning is to help calculate how you can purchase the correct materials at the correct time and use the correct resources in the correct place. Now, there's 2 types of master plans. One is going to be static plans, and that's basically using the current data to generate a net requirements plan. And this plan is going to remain unchanged until the next time you do master planning. This is your operations plan, and this is what you use to base your decisions on to do your daily tasks. Where the second type is your dynamic plans. And dynamic master planning starts with the same net requirements generated by your static master, but you're updating these plans every time the master data changes. So you can update it when you create a new sales order. And what these updates do, it allows you to monitor the changing orders and your item availability without messing up the static plan that's used for more of maintaining your work purposes. Now, when we look at these plans when it comes to master planning, the whole point behind Dynamics 365 supply chain management is to help connect and optimize production, planning, scheduling, operations, and all of your cost management. Now, you can change the output of a schedule by running a net plan change, or you can regenerate it. But essentially, if you were to regenerate the plan, it updates all requirements. Where net plan changes only update the plan on which the item that you have the new requirements that basically have come in since the last master plan run. Now, when you look at the way that the master plan calculates the requirements and results, there's three main planning processes. And the first one is master planning, which we've discussed quite a bit. That is calculating your net requirements. So it's based on your current orders. That allows you to basically look on a short-term, day-to-day basis. Next, we have our forecast plan, which is looking at the gross requirements. So this is looking out in the future, basically to look at long-term planning. And then we have our inter-company master planning. Now, this is calculating the net requirements across all your legal entities. So it's connecting supply and demand between your organizations, but it's looking at it not only as a short-term, but also as a long-term plan for both supply and demand. Now, with master planning, you're using it to view logistical information across your sites, your warehouses, all of your transportation routes, and you're combining this data from sales and purchasing, which is giving you insights on your inventory, on your production, on your warehouses, that allow you to forecast, plan, and prepare for the future. And that comes in handy, especially when we start to talk about our prospects.
When you place an order, it needs to meet your operational criteria. And that criteria is going to include quality checks, picking cycles, profit margins, bill of materials, and so on. So you're able to configure customer requirements and product attributes during the sales process. And the model generates a list of requirements, routes, materials, all of that automatically. So by unifying processes from sales to fulfillment, Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management connects sales and purchasing with logistics and production and your warehouse management team for a 360-degree view of your supply chain. It's helping reduce procurement costs and gain greater control by automating that procure-to-pay process. And this is going to improve customer orders and delivery. It's going to optimize fulfillment and reduce your costs. We're going to be able to accelerate delivery. And at the end of the day, you're increasing quality and customer satisfaction. Now, as orders come in and demand rises, you can check organizational and warehouse impact using your sales order management. You can create the process sales order. You can relate both the product and customers to ensure that the packing and picking lists are correct and ready for shipment, all from one really simple dashboard. So we've taken a look at how the orders are fulfilled, but let's look at actually how you can use procurement and sourcing in Dynamics 365 for supply chain management. Maintaining clear communication with your vendors throughout your supply chain is so incredibly important to ensuring order accuracy and keeping delays at a minimum. A key aspect of supply chain management is to ensure the quality of your vendors' products. And the flowchart that I have on the screen is the typical process involved with procurement and sourcing. Now, Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management actually helps streamline the procurement process by using a single application for procurement to pay to help manage contracts, your agreements, and it monitors on-time delivery performance and allows you to collaborate with external vendors. So what happens is a purchase requisition, which is a document created by employees who don't have permission to create purchase orders, and essentially this requester is going to create the purchase requisition and submit it to the purchasing department via the workflow to be authorized or approved. Then the purchasing department uses the purchase requisitions to generate the actual purchase order for the items that have been requested by the employee. The purchasing requisitions are internal documents, but purchase orders are the equivalent of external documents that the purchasing department submits to the vendors. So then we move into the RFQ, which is the request for quotation, and this process invites suppliers to build on specific products or services. And this RFQ is a document that you issue when you want to buy products, and you're inviting organizations to submit those bids. Now, there is a full vendor collaboration interface that is a portal that basically exposes a limited set of information about purchase orders to external vendors. And throughout this vendor collaboration portal, you're able to create new contracts, provision new vendor users, and essentially it's giving you this collaboration between your purchasing agents and your vendors. But what's nice about this is you're able to monitor your inventory, work with purchase orders, and then you can all view and submit your vendor invoices in one area. Now, in procurement and sourcing, you're going to need to create what's called purchasing policies. And basically, these policies control the purchasing process. A purchasing policy is made up of a collection of rules, whether, like, for example, who can access certain product categories or product catalogs, requisitions, and a number of other items. But essentially, you set this up to control the purchasing process. And this is going to help you implement your procurement strategy that aligns with your strategic needs. So you find these suppliers, you onboard them as new vendors, you're maintaining the vendor information, and you're creating agreements with them. And all of that is going to be managed through this document. So in Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management, you can identify the supplies and the material that you need to complete your upcoming jobs. You can then find the best vendors to work with you based on their stock, their cost, their time delivery. And then finally, you get to monitor the delivery time and communicate with your vendors. And all of that is through one easy to use dashboard. Since we've had the opportunity to look at the supply chain management process and some of the factors that you need to consider as you move through it, let's also look at asset and warehouse management. So within Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management, there's an asset management module. And what this does is it actually helps you maximize the life of your assets by maintaining and managing those assets and those jobs. So what asset management does, it lets you do all the tasks that are related to managing and servicing the equipment in your organization. And this equipment can include machines, production equipment, and even vehicles. And you can actually extend the life and performance of your equipment by using IoT and mixed reality to help plan and predict when you should be completing your asset maintenance. So what happens is assets and work orders are central parts of an asset management program. So like I said, an asset is a machine or a machine part that requires some type of ongoing service or maintenance. And what happens is you actually create these assets in a structure and then you relate them to a location. So here on the screen, you can see I have a conveyor belt. I have actually 3 conveyor belts and 1 pipe. And you can see when and where I'm supposed to be working on those work orders. And essentially, you can plan maintenance jobs at all levels in an asset structure. asset management allows you to maintain your assets, plan and predict maintenance effectively, support various type of maintenance, and it allows you to monitor the KPI of each device. And this is really important because you're able to perform maintenance and basically protect your assets before something catastrophic or failure occurs. And this ensures that your business and your warehouse is running smoothly. Now, when we talk about warehouse management in Dynamics 365 for finance, warehouse management process basically is using machine learning enhanced guidance that basically recommends a more effective way to manage your inventory so that way you're not running out of stock. And it does this by giving you complete visibility of your warehouse operations and inventory, which allow you to manage capacity and consumption of your raw materials effectively and look at the movement of the finished goods in real time. And this is helping you automate and scale your warehouse management systems because you want to make sure that you're optimizing your space, whether it's from simple stock rooms to full-blown distribution centers. When you're managing your materials effectively, it allows you to basically reduce any overhead costs, and it also enhances productivity and profitability. Now, because we're using machine learning enhanced guidance, you're actually able to get real-time intelligence about the health of your warehouse using Power BI, which remember we looked at yesterday as just another tool for you to integrate with your Dynamics 365. And so taking a look at some of that visibility and the charts that you can actually see within Dynamics 365 supply chain management, we can actually see on the screen an example of the inbound performance overview. So with Dynamics 365 supply chain management, it's really easy to process incoming purchase orders and streamline your inbound supply chain processes. You can even optimize your outbound supply chain with the automatic sales order release. There's even efficient picking operations and coordinated staging for shipment. So you can actually set up work templates that help define the sequence of each step that goes from warehouse to staging, all within the warehousing mobile app. And you can use this using any mobile device. And it's actually can help direct your warehouse workers to help determine where they need to be getting it. So let's actually take a look at an example of an outbound scenario. Now, typically what would happen is that a employee would log in entering their username and a 4-digit PIN. So once they enter in that, they're actually going to select outbound, and then they're going to select sales order picking. And they'll have a sales order, and this is where they're going to scan a barcode. Now, when the user scans a barcode, they're going to get a beep or get a small vibration, some type of response letting them know that it went through. Now, that barcode value is going to be sent to a server, and then a new page is going to appear. And that new page tells them exactly where they need to go. So in this case, it's telling them not only the aisle, the rack, and then the shelf. So then, just to be sure that they're in the right location, they actually would then scan the barcode, ensuring that they are in the correct location. Then, once it's verified that they are in the right location, they're going to look for details of what they're picking. And in this case, we're looking for a men's dress shirt that's white, extra large, New York style. So then they would scan the plate of the box, making sure that they're in the right area, and then it would tell them how many that they're taking. So you can either scan the item 3 times, so scan each item individually, or you can press the plus sign to enter in 3, and then you'll hit the check mark saying, yes, I've gotten it. Then, if there's an additional item that needs to be picked for that order, it'll tell you the next location. So in this case, we're going to aisle 3, aisle 18, rack 3, shelf 2, and then you'll scan the barcode right there. And in this case, we're looking for dress socks. We'll take the box, and in this case, it's telling us how many we need, and we need 24. So 24 might be a little bit much to type, to scan or press the plus sign. So you can actually use the number pad here. And once they're done, they'll show that they are done picking orders. And then they'll place it at the packing table 3, which then it's ready for package and shipping. And once it's there, it will say, yep, you're ready to go. And then they'll move on to the next sales order. So essentially, this makes it very quickly to process all of your work, all of your sales orders in an efficient way by making sure that they're selecting the right items and placing them in the right staging area. And all of this is done through modernization. And the last section that I want to discuss with you is the way that you can actually modernize your operations using artificial intelligence. And we've looked at how you can utilize artificial intelligence in some areas, but Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management uses AI and machine learning to basically connect and modernize your entire organization. And we see AI and IoT being used in planning, production, inventory, warehouse, transportation, all of which is there to maximize your operational efficiency, your product quality, and your profitability. Because when you connect your production floor with IoT, you work smarter and make operations more intelligent than ever. And in turn, machines are becoming smarter. And Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management can actually drive automation, which will help reduce downtime. Because think about it, if we were to connect IoT devices to one of our machines, and it lets us know, 5 uses before failure, you're able to schedule that maintenance right away. So all of this is there to help modernize your operations. And I want to share just a quick overview of Dynamics layouts. We took a look at guides and remote assist in customer service and field service. But with Dynamics 365 layouts, it basically allows you to take physical design concepts to completion. And what it does is you can use floor plans with 3D models to experience designs at scale. And what this does, it allows you to visualize room layouts with holograms in the physical world or in virtual reality. So what this does, it allows you to make informed decisions before you start building. So you can edit these designs on the spot as you walk through the holograms, move or resize. And so this allows you to really take advantage of making sure that you're maximizing the area in your warehouse, in your distribution center. So you can design room layouts, you can preview them, and basically once you create the floor configurations, you have a proof of concept at a fraction of a cost. So the example here is we have someone using the HoloLens to visualize where the equipment's going to go in the shop floor. So they can walk through and make sure that, yep, it fits. It's easy to walk through. How many steps is it to the secondary machine they're going to use? So this is just a really, really cool tool of how you can use that mixed reality, not only in customer service and field service, but also in supply chain management. And that brings us to the end of Module 5, where we've covered a lot of information. We learned about finance, and we also learned about supply chain management. So remember, with finance, it's basically providing a centralized information for all of your financial needs. Now, Dynamics 365, it provides mobile and desktop applications for you to use. On the exam, you do not need to know how to implement, but you do need to know what solutions can be used where. Same thing with Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. We looked at how you can use AI. Everything is being driven through AI and machine learning and IoT devices, whether it's going from order fulfillment, planning, procurement, production, inventory, warehousing, transportation, and so much more to basically streamline your process, maximize efficiency, and maximize profitability. Now, with the finance and operation apps, these are very deep concepts and very complex ones that we only spent, we spent a little over an hour on two very big concepts. So please make sure that you're checking out the study material at aka.ms/D365FunPath, where there are several videos that will actually walk you through demos. You'll be able to see these in real-time use. And if you're brand new to these concepts, definitely make sure you have a chance to study that vocab. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with Module 6, where we'll take a look at commerce and human resources in Dynamics 365. Welcome back from break. We're moving right along into our next set of finance and operation apps, which will include commerce and human resources. So with these two modules, again, very similar to what we saw in our finance as well as our supply chain management, we're going to be introducing how Dynamics 365 can benefit an organization with these departments in there. You do not need to know how to implement them, nor how to work them for the exam. However, you do need to make sure that you know the fundamentals of both the commerce process as well as some of the processes in human resources. If this is a new topic to you or you don't work in this in your day-to-day job, please make sure that you're utilizing the learning path to do some follow-up studying and review. Let's go ahead and start with our first lesson, which is going to be an introduction into Dynamics 365 Commerce. Dynamics 365 Commerce is an end-to-end retail solution that's delivering unified commerce across all channels, which encompasses sales, mobility, intelligence, and productivity to help retailer workers achieve more in a cloud-first, mobile-first way. But commerce also adjusts to your business needs. There's flexible deployment options, because D365 Commerce is able to deploy in the cloud, on-premise, or as a hybrid option for customers in remote locations. And we'll talk a little bit more about those cloud options later on in Module 7. But as a SaaS solution, it's infused with intelligence that extends to your business needs and it's always up to date, which is helping you drive innovation to improve productivity, operations, and your business outcomes. And because you have to think, what is your modern retail customer? They are well informed because the information is out there on the internet and they demand a great shopping experience. They want to feel in control of that experience, whether it's from researching the product price and quality or to purchasing it from a brand that offers the most personalized or convenient service. They're looking to maximize every value of the dollars that they spend. And their shopping journey starts in one channel, but then it's actually going to end in a different channel, and it depends on what the customer chooses. So let's actually take a look at the consumer shopping journey. And Dynamics 365 can holistically address all the facets of a commercial retail business across from front of house and back of house operations. It really just depends on your business needs. Dynamics 365 Commerce can address some of those functional gaps in your organization as well, whether it's sales, operations, or you can use it as an end-to-end solution to enable your business to accelerate quickly and maximize the impact for customers, employees, and the overall business. We're going to take a look at some of the challenges that some retailers may face and what the capabilities of Dynamics 365 Commerce can actually help them overcome. So the first thing that we have is a unified commerce. And retail organizations are no longer just brick and mortar stores. Think about it. You need to be able to unify the shopping experience across all retail experiences. And this may be traditional brick and mortar stores, but it also can be online stores and call centers. And each store needs to have its own payment methods, its own delivery methods, its own price groups, and income and expense accounts. They even need to have their own registers and staff. But across all purchasing channels, you're giving customers the convenience and the flexibility to buy in store or pick up in other locations or even get home delivery with optimized ordering and fulfillment tools. And part of the way that you support that experience is through what we call POS or point of sale. And you can actually manage and support your POS experience with Dynamics 365 Commerce. So you'll be configuring your operations across stores and online, all while using intelligent product and inventory tools. So you can create buttons for functional actions, whether it's processing sales or manage receipts after a customer completes sales. So Dynamics 365 for Commerce supports both cloud and modern POS experiences. So you can use the cloud point of sale on browsers with mobile devices, or you can use the modern POS to process sales orders and operations and inventory across a number of other devices. But essentially, you can track and control commissions and receipts during and after sales. Now, both point of sale systems, whether it's the cloud or the modern POS, they both share the same core application code. And this is really important because this will make sure that the user interface is consistent no matter which platform your employees are using, or for that matter, your customers. And for the most part, the capabilities are same, but there are some differences. And so in each of these, you can actually run some variations of each POS concurrently. So for example, on your main registers, you can use the modern POS that runs on Windows. However, you can also supplement those registers with browser-based terminals or maybe mobile devices. And you might have seen this in stores. Sometimes you see employees saying who's paying with a card, and they'll actually pull you out of line and they'll check you out using a mobile device. But essentially, with Dynamics 365 Commerce, you get to use a wide range of devices, whether it's with mPOS or cPOS, but both of these offer those multiple interfaces and deployment options that are going to help you with your various business scenarios. Next, we have merchandising and inventory, because any commerce operation has to have merchandise and inventory in order to complete their sales. So with Dynamics 365 Commerce, you're able to strategically plan your merchandising and inventory that will actually increase sales and profitability. Now, you actually have to configure all of these retail channels in the tool before you can use them, but some of the things that you'll do is you can create products, you can define the product categories, the attributes, and actually assign those product categories to retail hierarchies. So, for example, you can change a product's price and then set up a discount applied to a line item or a transaction at the point of sale in a call center or even an online order. So on the example, I actually have a screenshot of the category and product management screen. And you can see here under a single product, we can see all the sizes that go along with it. So we can see sizes, the size groups, group colors, styles, and so on and so forth. And this is a really important tool when it comes to doing price changes or discounts, or really just managing your inventory. And when we look at your retail headquarters, Dynamics 365 Commerce can help manage a number of different products within your retail headquarters. So the first thing is going to be your product and categories. And this is where you're managing your product kits, your product images, really anything that goes along with it. And we had a chance to look at that in our former module when we looked at the supply chain management and the operations of why it's important to have the product types. And then as we go through with your catalogs and your assortments, this is where then you can start to build your catalog for your online retail shop that can then be either posted for your call center employees to use or for customers to shop directly. Now, the next thing with product recommendations, this is really cool because this is where we start to see that machine learning, that artificial intelligence to come into play. Because have you ever been shopping on an online retailer where it said other customers who purchased this item also purchased X? For the example, I just purchased a coffee machine the other day, and when I was checking out, it said other customers who have viewed or purchased this item also purchased this coffee or these cups or this holder to hold the coffee pods. So these product recommendations can actually help drive additional sales.
Some other terminology that you will need to know for the exam are channels, employees, and customers, as well as inventory. So channels are basically the things that you set up to manage your storefronts. So whether it's your retail stores, your call centers, or your online stores, essentially you're using this to manage your financial statements. Employees, this is how you manage and assign your employees for what they can do within the point of sale or any other systems. Your customers, this is actually really important because you can use features in Dynamics 365 to actually assist with customer loyalty. So there's actually programs in Dynamics 365 for Commerce that allow you to set up a customer loyalty program, whether it's earning points, whether it's they're linking their card to maybe another store that you're part of. But essentially, it encourages your employees to return back because they're earning points and they want to build up that loyalty programs, which in turn creates loyal customers. So this also can help you allow your customers to leave you reviews or anything like that. So your customers, this is how you send them catalogs, run through their return, replacements, all of that. And then finally, your inventory, your last keyword that you will need to know is, you're using this to manage your on-hands or your stock counts. So this is where you can set up replenishment rules, merchandising barcodes, and essentially how you service all of those accounts. Now, when we talk about channel management, so remember, channels are retail stores, those call centers are online stores. You need to make sure that you're setting them up correctly because they may have their own payment methods, their own delivery methods. So after you create a store, essentially you determine what products you're going to carry and then any store specific discounts. So again, that's just all through the management side of it. Same thing with your e-commerce. You can build websites using the development tools. You can reuse any of the defaults. So it makes it real easy as you deploy your products and your inventory across multiple channels. So remember, we are in our fourth industrial revolution. We are an industry in transition. And as a digital enterprise, you're conducting business online. And a benefit of that is that you're doing it in real time. And while doing business online can actually help you reduce costs and improve the customer experience, it also exposes you to threats of fraud. So what happens is we see that we have users or basically people who are committing fraudulent activity who are taking advantage of your online channel and they're creating transactions that basically compromise your account and, they steal payment instruments. They might try to take over your account. They may abuse free trials. They might leak fake product reviews, or they might commit warranty or reseller fraud. Or, we might see an abuse of program discounts. And all of that can impact your profitability and sometimes more importantly, your reputation. And some types of fraud are massive. I mean, those can include money laundering or posting fake news, but it's usually smaller things that we see that happens and it exploits your vulnerabilities. So what Dynamics 365 fraud protection does is there's actually a focus on payment fraud, and it will protect you basically in any e-commerce related scenarios. So one of the things that it does is Microsoft has developed a technology stack that connects big data across multiple lines of business. And it's applying artificial intelligence to help correct situations in real time. So you actually have this full AI-driven insight that's protecting you from the fraud network, essentially. So you have a virtual fraud analysis at your fingertips. Because online fraud is a substantial risk, we don't want to make sure that users are exploiting your vulnerabilities. And unlike early years of the internet, well-funded and well-equipped rings of professionals fund and orchestrate today's fraudulent transactions. Fraud protection professionals have the skills to fight this threat, and using Dynamics 365 fraud protection can help you and your commerce business. For those of you who are planning on taking the exam, you do not need to know how to implement any of the solutions. But it's really important that you know that Dynamics 365 Commerce is there for you from customer engagement, whether it's on the physical stores, the e-commerce. Essentially, Dynamics 365 is a complete retail solution, and you're getting that unified commerce. Remember, that's where you're creating shopping experiences across the entire store, whether it's through internet, mobile, or your call centers. And you're doing that, managing it all through your point of sale system, whether it's a modern point of sale system or a cloud point of sale system. And with that, you're able to build loyalty programs for your customers. You're allowed to have e-commerce solutions across a number of different channels, but essentially it's protecting you against fraud and allowing you to deploy retail customizations in one combined package. And with that being said, that is our overview of Dynamics 365 Commerce, and we'll be moving into our human resources. And again, for both of these modules, they are meant to serve as an introduction only, not a full explanation of what commerce is or human resources is, but just how Dynamics 365 can support you. So with human resources, a number of the topics that we've discussed, whether it's today or yesterday, these are all integrated into the workplace. And the way we work, the workplace has all changed. Now, what's really, I guess I would say, sad about this is that a lot of organizations haven't changed the way that they process HR or human resources. I mean, you have to think about it. With Dynamics 365, or just in life in general, people are connected through mobile devices. They're plugged into their network. They have career expectations, and they want to work for organizations that are aligned to their values. And so essentially what Dynamics 365 Human Resources does, it allows HR managers or human resource professionals to ensure that the people who are employed at the organization can do their best work. So they're allowing their managers and their leaders to lead the best employees. They're managing employee retention, and they're building impactful HR programs that are also cost effective. Essentially, with Dynamics 365 Human Resources, you're moving beyond traditional human resource management, and you're moving to take better care of your people and drive operational excellence. And like all the other tools we've looked at within Dynamics 365, this is a complete HR solution where you can actually meet all of your regulatory requirements that come along with that. And with Dynamics 365 Human Resources, this is helping your HR professionals get workforce insights that's needed to build data-driven employee experience. And this includes compensation, benefits, leaves, absence, payroll, performance feedback, training, certification, and self-service. Dynamics 365 is going to allow you to connect to your employees and take better care of them. And so when we look at the process that normally goes along with human resources, it's centralizing all of your data and it's embedding analytics to uncover valuable insights. We notice with all of the Dynamics 365 programs, we're looking at making better decisions through data. And since this is a full service solution, out of the box with Dynamics 365 Human Resources, you can use a browser-based user experience that's tailored to very specific roles. So whether you're managing org charts or you're doing compensation planning, you can do this all through the browser in a very great user-intuitive way. There's even integration through payroll. So when it comes to the exam, the main areas that you'll want to know or make sure that you have an understanding on how Dynamics 365 can support you, it is in organizational management, employee feedback, so performance review, compensation and benefits, leave and absence, as well as the self-service portal. And we'll take a look at all of that today. So with Dynamics 365 Human Resources, you see a lot of benefits through implementation. Because remember how we talked about that we are an industry in transition. We're going through our fourth industrial revolution. But a lot of organizations haven't changed the way that they manage people, like I said. So with the benefits of Dynamics 365 Human Resources is the first one, you're able to increase employee retention by offering competitive compensation and benefit in your leave programs. So you'll have the data to see, how do you compare to other organizations? Why are people leaving? Same thing with reducing the organizational complexity. It can be very confusing for an HR professional to manage your entire organization where there's a number of different personnel records or departments or job descriptions. And Dynamics 365 simplifies everything. It automatically creates hierarchies or org charts where your HR professionals then are able to improve their productivity and they're able to automate a lot of their workflows or task management that they were once doing manually. And with all of Dynamics 365, if you haven't picked up on it yet, it is completely customizable to your needs. So you can change the layouts, you can integrate it with the products that you need to, because we want to make sure that you're able to innovate and you're able to move faster and easier, and your employees and your teams are empowered to make decisions because they are driven by data. And with this, Dynamics 365 Human Resources is really there to help you manage and develop your employees. Whether you're helping them do self-guided learning to performance assessments, all of these programs here are designed to deliver impact and develop a high-performance culture. And you can manage all of these through Dynamics 365 for Human Resources. And one of the things that I think is really cool when it comes to Dynamics 365 is that you're able to create a 360-degree view of your employees. That includes the present data, experience data, all through Microsoft Office as well. So you have that collaboration between managers, your HR, and your employees, and it allows you to build a high-performing team. So with Dynamics 365 Human Resources, all of these capabilities and all of these benefits really simplify the way that you administer your benefits, the way you organize your compensation plan, you monitoring your leave of absence or your training and your compliance programs, because you want to make sure that you are maintaining global regulatory and safety requirements. So let's go ahead and dive into Dynamics 365 Human Resource capabilities. And the first one, let's talk a little bit about the personnel management. So with personnel management, your employees want to make sure that they can log in and see, what tasks do I have to complete? What documents do I have to complete? And it could be training, it can be tax documents, it can be compliance documents, but essentially it provides these really rich employee portals that allow you to basically have your employees self-register or self-moderate, and it helps streamline the process, and it's universal. So because you've enabled the self-service, it allows them to manage name changes or address changes, and it's immediately updated. So it's updated both in the employee workspace as well as the employee portal. And think about if you no longer had to track time off requests or, phone number changes. And it allows your HR teams to focus on the things that they need to, because employees are able to get the information they need on their own through these self-service tools. All right, so you can see here we have an example of the employee self-service page, as well as the employee portal of what that might look like. Now, when it comes to personnel management, we have something that's called a skill gap analysis. And this is something that's really important when managers are trying to develop their team members. So you can actually go through your team as a manager or an HR practitioner, and you can find employees who possess skills for open roles. Or if you're looking to fill vacancies with internal staff, you can actually use this to help decide who do we need to skill. But using artificial intelligence and machine learning, you know, you can actually have the tools help suggest professional development resources for your employees. And this will help motivate them to enrich their own careers, help guide them to complete their own training. Essentially, you're using this employee development workspace to set broader goals and competencies for the entire business. And you can design and share performance review templates across the entire organization. You also can gain the complete view of skills and data across the organization that help you make decisions faster. That's everything in Dynamics 365, is you're able to make decisions faster based off of the data you currently have. So this is a great way for your managers or your HR practitioners to help manage their team. Now, one of the other big headaches for any HR practitioner can be managing standard compensation activities. So this could be whether it is their annual bonuses or long-term, short-term, all of that included can sometimes be a huge pain in the butt. But with benefits management in Dynamics 365, it is very simple because there's a set of tools that are there to help you set up, maintain benefits or deductions from the employee's compensation. And with these is when you set up a plan, it actually allows you to manage it both effectively and equally, because you can see whether or not you pay a phone allowance for one employee, and the system will actually alert you to make sure that an employee in a similar role is also receiving that same phone allowances. Again, you can create variable compensation plans that have their own set of defined roles that basically determine who and what is a criteria for that plan. Now, in addition to compensating your staff, whether it's with wages, salaries, or bonus, you can even develop benefit programs, whether it's health insurance or retirement plans. And you can also manage your benefits, such as loan programs. And this is where you are loaning out computers or phones to your employees. But Dynamics 365 Human Resources is a really, really powerful tool. And you want to make sure that you are on the up and up, just not only with your regulatory and safety compliances, but you want to create an environment where both your employees and your organizations thrive. I mean, you want to make sure that your programs are optimized, whether it's your compensation, your leave and absence, payroll, all of that. But you also want to empower your employees, whether they're your managers or the employees themselves, to make decisions. So whether it's through the employee development portal or through self-service, this is always on making sure that you and your HR teams can empower your employees and build successful teams through the Azure Cloud and Dynamics 365 for Human Resources. And that brings us to the end of our final Finance and Operations app that we'll be taking a look at. So we took a look at Dynamics 365 Commerce, which, remember, that was what we talked about at the start. That's an omni-channel solution. So that's where we take your back office, in-store call center, online, all of that, and bring it in together into one full unified commerce solution. We took a look at within Human Resources of how you can create organization and a culture in which your employees can thrive and everyone is performing under data-driven operations and decisions. Now, with all of the apps we discussed today, with these ones, they are more conceptual on the exam. They are going to be more case study based of an organization is looking to adopt Dynamics 365 Human Resources which of the following capabilities can that assist them with. And it might list off leave of absence, benefits. You just need to know what these apps can do to help out organizations. In Module 7, we'll be taking a look at everything that we've covered the last 2 days and how you can actually secure your information and your data in Dynamics 365. So we'll look at the business value of the Microsoft Cloud. By no means is this a full overview of what Microsoft's cloud services can do, but we'll start to take a look at some of the benefits of that and why Dynamics 365 and Power Platform use them, as well as some of the role-based security and how you basically can protect all of your applications and the data within Dynamics 365. So before we can get into the security portion of these, let's actually just talk about some principles of cloud computing. Now, cloud computing is made up of 4 main areas that you are renting from a cloud provider. And a cloud provider can be Microsoft, Amazon, Google, but essentially you are renting compute power, storage, networking, and analytics from a cloud provider. And this is replacing your on-prem data center. Now, depending on the different levels of cloud services that you select, that can change the level of responsibility that falls on you versus your cloud provider. Now, here's the really cool thing about cloud computing. You're probably using some type of cloud computing service right now, and you don't even realize it. Think about it. Are you using an online service to send email, edit documents, watch movies, listen to music, play games? Are you storing pictures online? Well, it's likely that you're using some type of cloud computing that's making that all happen. And cloud computing is a very significant shift away from the traditional way businesses have thought about IT resources. There are 6 key benefits that I want to make sure that you understand when it comes to cloud computing. The first one is cost, because cloud computing essentially eliminates the need of capital expense when it comes to buying hardware and software, because you're no longer managing your on-premises data center. You're no longer purchasing racks of servers, nor do you need electricity or power cooling related to that, because all of your physical infrastructure is being outsourced to the cloud. And what this means is you don't have any type of upfront infrastructure costs. You're no longer purchasing or managing. Gone are the days of racking and stacking. And we run on something that's called a consumption-based model. And that consumption-based model means that you are only paying for resources, remember that compute, networking, storage, analytics, when you use it. And when you're done using it, you get to turn it off and you stop paying for it. Next, another huge benefit is global, because you have the ability in cloud computing to scale elastically, which means that in cloud terms, you're able to deliver the right amount of resources, whether it's more computing power, storage, bandwidth, whatever, when it's needed in the right geographic location. And with Microsoft Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud, there are over 16 regions all over the world, and each region is made up of, on average, 3 data centers at a minimum per region. So you can expand all over the world. And because cloud computing runs on a network of data centers all over the world that are secure, we're making sure that those are connected with the latest generation of fast and efficient computer hardware. And basically, there's benefits that a single corporate data center would not be able to compete with, because we're taking advantage of something called economies of scale. Now, another huge benefit is the ability to get services, the resources you need, on demand. Now, you can provision an entire virtual machine in a matter of minutes when it comes to cloud computing. And it's not a difficult process either. It's usually done within a few clicks. And cloud computing gives your business flexibility, and you no longer have to worry about hitting capacity. Now, cloud computing has 2 forms of scaling, and it just depends on your needs. So the first one that you need to understand is vertical scaling, and this is also known as scaling up. And essentially what this means is that you're adding resources to increase power of existing servers. So maybe you're adding more memory to support an increase in data collection. Whereas horizontal scaling, which is also known as scaling out, is the process of adding more servers that function together as one unit. So for this case, you might have more than one server processing incoming requests. And both with scaling up or out or vertical scaling, you can also scale in and down. Because remember, you're only paying for what you need. And this really increases productivity when it comes to your IT team. Because, when you have an on-site data center, there's a lot of racking and stacking that goes into that. Whether you're patching software or really any other time-consuming IT management chores. And cloud computing removes the need for any of these tasks. And so this makes it so your IT team can spend more on other important business goals. And finally, the last benefit we'll talk about, even though there are so many more, is reliability. Cloud computing makes data backup or disaster recovery very simple and less expensive because you're able to do it at multiple redundant sites all over your cloud provider's network. And this is really important, especially as you're looking at Dynamics 365, is understanding how your workloads are being backed up, how, you can save money, how are you going to increase productivity, and it's because you're backed up through the Microsoft Cloud. Now there are three types of cloud services, and you might have heard those in the past, or I think I've mentioned SaaS a couple times throughout our last few days. But there are three types of
be looking at the model-driven apps as well as the finance and operation apps. We'll look at how you can use this for your customer insights, as well as taking a look at some of our third-party apps and my favorite, the Microsoft Office integration capabilities. But let's look at the model-driven app integration first. There are so many different opportunities that you have when you integrate model-driven apps in Dynamics 365. So that's your sales, your customer service, field service, marketing. It can seem like your opportunities are endless. And you can even integrate Dynamics apps with other Dynamics apps. And so this really just makes it so you can pull data and streamline a number of different products and services easily across all of Dynamics and other third-party apps. One of the main things when it comes to using Dynamics 365, any of the applications, is they all have their purpose. And when you think specifically when it comes to model-driven apps, they all share the common data service. And the integrations between them isn't just simple, it's expected. I mean, think about it. Your marketing team is going to funnel qualified leads to your sales team. And your customer service team is going to manage support cases while your field service technicians are on site resolving those issues. It's so important that all of those applications can speak to one another. So the data integrator is so important when it comes to model-driven apps. What the data integrator is, it is a point-to-point integration service that's used to integrate data into the common data service, and it supports data integration from a number of different sources. Not only does it support the model-driven apps like sales and marketing, but it also supports the supply chain and management, as well as finance, and even third-party apps, which is going to include Salesforce and a number of other tools. Now, before you can create a data integration project, you're going to have to establish a connection for each of your applications. Now, you don't need to know this for the exam, but it's a unified experience, so you're not having to switch between different portals. All the tasks that are related to the data integrator are all managed through the Power Platform Admin Center. So let's actually look at a scenario that we looked at earlier, and that's that prospect to cash scenario. So in that prospect to cash scenario, we're using the data integration feature to synchronize data across instances of Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management and Dynamics 365 Sales. And this is really easy because the prospect to cash templates are available with the data integration feature already built in. So it's already allowing the flow of data about the accounts, those contacts, the products, the sales quotes, sales orders, invoices. All of that is already set up for Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management and Dynamics 365 Sales. The integration across Dynamics 365 applications allows you to keep a single view of your customer while managing data and automating your business. Now, I want to look very specifically at the finance and operation integrations because you may want to import data from finance via Excel, or you might want to extend the functionality of one of your finance and operation apps using a third-party product. Now, remember, the model-driven apps that we talk about are very, very different than the finance and operation apps. And one of the key differences is going to be the data management framework. Now, the data management framework is basically the key to managing data and data integrations in the finance and operation apps. It's giving a comprehensive data toolset to manage, audit, import, and export and delete data. So the way that the data management framework works, it's based on the concept of data entities. And you may use the framework to do migration or configuration setup, but data projects are part of the framework, which allows entities to send or receive data in the finance operation apps via the data job. And data projects also provide scheduling functionality, execution history, and error logging references. So let's take a look at what data entities are. And a data entity is simply an object in a data model. And you design data by breaking down things into the smallest parts that are useful for representing data relationships. For example, a vendor entity encompasses and combines over 17 different tables and data sources into a single vendor entity. And during import or export events, these entities use business logic to validate and transform the data that's being sent or received. Finance and operation applications allow custom data entities to create. Finance and operation apps allow for custom data entities, and a developer can create those data entities with Visual Studio. So there are actually 5 different types of data entities, which you can be categorized based on function and data set. So the first one is going to be a parameter, and it can be functional or behavioral. So it might be data that's specific to an industry or business, or it can be applied to a broader set of customers. Essentially, this is required to set up a deployment or a module for a specific build or a specific customer. Next, we have a reference. And this is simple reference data, so it's a very small quantity, which is required to operate a business process. So this might include units, dimensions, or tax codes. We then have a master, and this is data assets of the business. So these data assets are the nouns of the business, and these usually fall into categories such as people, places, and concepts. This can be very complex reference data, usually in large quantities. So think about vendors, customers, or projects. We then have documents. So this is your worksheet data that you might convert into transactions, the operational data of the business. So this can include your sales orders, purchase orders, open balances, and journals. And then finally is the operational transaction data of the business. So that's our transaction data. So this includes basically anything that's a pending invoice. It can be posted transactions. Typically, these are types of items that you would exclude during a full data set copy. Taking a look at what the data management workspace looks like, the way that you would create and manage data or import and export jobs in Dynamics 365 Unified Operations, you would use the data management workspace. And by default, the data import and export process creates a staging table for each entity in the target database. Staging tables let you verify or clean up or even convert the data before you move it. Another important concept to understand when it comes to your finance and operation integrations is going to be business events. And what these are events that are generated in your finance and operation apps that are then sent to an external system. And all of this is happening in real time, and it's usually part of something larger in the business process. So think about this as an example. You want to send a signal to your third-party warehouse system that a customer canceled a purchase order. And a developer has to create a business event to send that signal upon cancellation. So this is something that you would create in the business event catalog. And there's a number of different data endpoints that we currently support for this. So whether it's your Azure Service Bus Queue, your Azure Service Bus Topic, Azure Event Grid, Azure Event Hub, HTTPS, or Microsoft Power Automate, all of these Azure-based endpoints are required to be in your subscription. And just so you know, there may be an added cost with those. But the business event screen allows you to check any event that generates errors, and it gives you an ability to resend those events. The last area I want to look at applies to both model-driven apps as well as our finance and operation apps, and that's the integration across Microsoft products. All Dynamics 365 models or applications integrate across the Microsoft stack. Using the connectors, it's possible to integrate with hundreds of software offerings. And I want to talk about the integrations that are most widely used when it comes to the Microsoft applications. So remember, all of this is coming from that common data service. First of all, we have Microsoft Outlook. Now, you can use the Dynamics 365 app for Outlook to view information about Dynamics 365 contacts and leads while you're working in Outlook. And it also allows you to view information in the context of email messages, meetings, or appointments. So for example, you can view phone numbers, company name, last activities, or the recent records from Dynamics 365 in your Outlook program. On top of that, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. It allows you to link email messages or meetings to a Dynamics 365 record. Or if you needed to open a record in Dynamics 365, it's a real simple click. So it allows you to do the business that you would normally conduct in Dynamics 365 directly from your Outlook application. Next, we have Microsoft Word. And this is really good for creating templates or standardizing documentation using different records from the Dynamics 365 Common Data Service. So you can create organizational templates that are there to help with simplifying document generations. And depending on the permission setup, users can actually create and share their own templates with others. So if you wanted to create a document template to manage a lightweight reporting need, you can easily do that here in Word. You can even generate Word templates as a specific document from a template of a target entity. And templates are entity specific, so it can include data from related entities. So you may select an entity relationship and it brings it in whenever you generate the template. So what's really nice about this is Word templates are a unique reporting tool set. You may use many to one, and many to many relationships, including the list of the child records. So on the screen, I have an example of what that looks like, what that mapping looks like. And if you've used mail merge before, it's very similar, except instead of mapping it from an Excel document, you're actually mapping it directly from Dynamics 365. Next on the application integrations is Microsoft Excel. And this is one of the most popular data analysis tools for business users. And the integration between the model-driven apps and the finance operation apps in Dynamics 365 is very popular. And because of the common data service, it's very easy to export to Excel. And this is a huge benefit because you can share the common data service data with individuals in the organization who don't have a Power Platform license. So you can either create static or dynamic worksheets. Most views that you have in any of your Dynamics 365 applications, you can export as a worksheet, and it allows you to create a local copy of the data. Now, if you wanted to something that automatically updates or is something that's linked between the common data service and that Excel file, you would actually be able to export it as a dynamic worksheet. Again, this is something that you would need to set up with the users and permissions. That way, if they make any changes to the data, it's automatically saved back to the common data service. But where this is really great is you can add different charts and graphs to that Excel file. And if someone who's not using the Power Platform, they have access to this. You can also create very robust templates, and you don't need to have any type of knowledge of Excel formulas or how to use the charts or pivot tables. You're able to create all these views from the common data service. Remember when we looked at some of the different dashboards and the reports? This is really easy to export some of those dashboards that you created into Excel. And you can even use the Excel pivot chart functionality to add additional graphs and content to the document. Now, remember, depending on how you set it up, this is going to be a static report. So any changes you make in this Excel document, unless you set it up with the correct permissions, will not write back to the common data service. let's actually look at Teams. Teams is becoming increasingly more popular, but this is if you're familiar with Teams, you know this is the place to manage your conversations, files, tools, all in one workspace. With Teams, you can work online, offline, because you can work on a computer, tablet, or mobile device, and it allows you to connect to SharePoint, OneNote, and other Office apps such as your Planner or your Power BI. And what's really great about this is you can actually link your Dynamics 365 applications or records directly into Teams. So this is really great, especially for your sales team. If you have multiple sales reps working on the same account, this allows them to collaborate in Teams directly. So it's such a great integration. Now, if there's something in particular that you're looking for and there was, you can't think of an app, or if you want to see what else is out there, there is a full connector for all other third-party apps, because Dynamics 365 just doesn't integrate with other apps, but it can also integrate with third-party applications. Salesforce is a very popular one. J.E. Edwards. There's so many different things that you can integrate through here. So if you want to look for third-party applications, AppSource is the place to go. And if you develop apps, this is the place where you can also market and distribute your apps. And there's so many different apps on there. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of apps are already available that work either with Microsoft Dynamics 365, Office, Power BI, or Azure. So this is really kind of the go-to place for anything app-related that you want to integrate with your Dynamics 365 products. And that brings us to the end of Module 8. We looked at the Common Data Service for our model-driven apps. We also looked at the data management framework for your finance and operation apps. And we looked at all the different ways that they can integrate across Microsoft Office products. As always, be sure to check out the study materials. Those, again, can be found at aka.ms/D365FunPath. And that brings us to the end of our second day of Dynamics 365 Fundamentals. Thank you so much for joining us for this 2-day session. Just as a recap, we went over a lot. We took a look at all of our model-driven apps, which goes from sales to marketing, customer service, field service. We also looked at all of our finance apps, which include our finance, commerce, supply chain management, as well as human resources. And not only did we take a look at the apps, but we also looked at how you can connect and analyze the data, how you can secure it, and how you can use the Common Data Service and that Common Data Model to connect to a number of different programs and platforms that you are already using in your business. I want to thank you again for joining us. And for those of you who are planning on taking the NB 901 exam, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. Have a great day.